Hello everyone, Miss Tangi here. Today I'm going to be reading to you Auntie Edna. Now this book is illustrated by Will Clay and written by Ethel Footman Smothers. Before reading, I want you to look at the cover of the book and tell me, what do you think this story is about? Let's begin. Toki was having one of those days, her wish I'd never been born kind. For no good reason. Mom had said she and Reba had to stay overnight here at Auntie Edna's. You need to get to know your people, and don't call your auntie old-fashioned, Mom had cautioned. But Toki knew Auntie Edna was old-fashioned. She didn't even have a TV. Toki knew from the start, even before she walked through the door, that this day was going to be stale. Toki always said stale when she was bored, when she was having a wish I'd never been born day. And this was definitely one of those days. Toki's fingers played hopscotch on Auntie's couch. Stale, Toki thought. Stale, stale, stale. Have you ever been that bored? Just then she heard Reba in the kitchen. Toki jumped up, glad her sister was back. At least Reba would be some company. Reba had run an errand down the street for Auntie Edna. Toki wasn't allowed. All the while, Reba just went on her merry way. You doing something, Toki? Reba asked, putting Auntie's basket on the table. Like what? Toki stretched her eyes towards the ceiling, as if there was something to do in this old place. No TV, just a big, fat nothing. Then Toki got an idea. I got it. You and I could play. That won't work. Won't work at all, an unfamiliar voice cut in. That's strictly out of the question. Say what? Toki whirled around, and there was this screechy-eyed girl coming into her auntie's house telling her what to do. Say what? Toki said again. You talking to me? Reba and I made other plans, this other person told her. Toki cut her eyes at Reba. Geraldine here is Mrs. Walker's niece. Reba tried to explain. You know, the lady Auntie had me take those things to. Auntie says it's okay for me to go to Geraldine's for a while. But I thought we would do something together. We will, Toki, when I get back. But I want to. Toki hushed in the middle of her sentence and tightened her lip. How come she had to be the one cooped up here with old-fashioned Auntie Edna? What was she supposed to do now? I've got a taste for some baked goods. An extra hand would help get it done in a jiffy. Auntie Edna had appeared as quietly as an evening shadow. She spoke as if she had actually heard Toki thinking. Do you think it was nice of her sister to just leave her out? Need to satisfy my sweet tooth, said Auntie Edna, handing Toki a bowl without even giving her a chance to say if she wanted to help or not. Now Auntie would probably make her bake dinky old cookies, thought Toki. Stale, stale, stale. Auntie Edna would know by now that people don't make cookies. They buy them at the store. You know, her auntie said, rushing for a mixing bowl, these won't be plain ordinary cookies. Come to think of it, they're not really cookies at all. In fact, Auntie went on, they're tea cakes, resemble a cookie, but no cookies can compare to my tea cakes. Just make your taste buds jump up and shout. Auntie Edna held each word an extra long time, letting them roll out like she was tasting some tea cakes right then. Have you ever baked with someone? Do you like to bake? One by one, Auntie named what she needed. Said she didn't need any recipe written down, had it all tucked away in her head. Eggs, she called out. I remember when we had to gather them from the hen house. Stale, Toki thought, and passed Auntie the carton. Fetch the flour now, Toki, Auntie said. Did you know flour used to come in cloth sacks? My mama used to sew us clothes out of those sacks. Toki didn't care much how things used to be, but Auntie told her anyway. What do you think about that? Need some butter now. Auntie plopped a chunk in the bowl. I churned many kegs of butter in my day. Had to milk the cow first, though. My papa had the stubbornest cow I've ever had the misfortune of knowing. But I wasn't about to let her get the best of me. I made up my mind to milk her one way or another. Well, Maybelle, that was our cow. Auntie talked over the rim of her glasses. Maybelle thought otherwise. She took that hind leg and sent me sprawling. Milk and all. Gave me a knot on the head, on the side of my head, the size of a goose egg. Toki turned her head and covered her mouth, but a laugh pushed out anyway. Auntie Edna laughed too, a deep, bubbly laugh, the kind that made you want to join right in. Do you know someone that tells you stories that are very funny and very interesting? When Auntie caught her breath, she measured the way she usually did. A couple of cups of flour, a pinch of salt, a dash of vanilla, a sprinkle of this, and a dab of that. Soon as a wad of dough formed, Auntie said no newfangled cookie cutters was going to shape her tea cakes. She and Toki would cut them the way she always did, with a plain old jar. They rolled the dough out on the table till it looked like a ragged-edged map. Then Toki turned the top of the mayonnaise jar on the flattened dough. The cut pieces pushed up into the jar and slid out around and even. Tea cakes in the oven. Toki followed Auntie to the bedroom. Toki had a button missing, and Auntie said that it was as good a time as any to stitch on another. Seat yourself, Auntie patted the bed covers. She took a tin box from the closet, handed it to Toki, and told her to pop the lid. Toki opened the lid, and all sorts of buttons spilled out. Dime-thin ones, big, thick, chunky ones, some wavy with bridges, some smooth and shiny like jewels. Some were robin egg blue, some were the color of rainy day clouds, all dull and gray. Some were shaped like dried up leaves, still others were small, round like peas. Toki couldn't believe her eyes. Where did all these come from? Put some away myself, some passed on me. Really? Do you know anyone that collects buttons? Auntie chose a button. This one belonged to your great-great-uncle who fought in the Civil War, and this one here, Auntie picked up another button, was left by your great-great-grandma who was born in 1875. She was a dressmaker, one of the first of our family to own her own business. This one from her shop. For real? Toki's eyes widened. All true, Auntie said. Why do you keep all of them? Auntie bit the thread and knotted the end. Never know when you might need 'em. Toki smiled. Like now? Like now, Auntie winked. When Toki ran her hands through the button pile and held one up, what's this one about? Any kind of memory to go with it? Not in particular, not until now, Auntie said. Look in the basket and bring me that string. What do you think she's gonna do? Toki passed Auntie the string. Auntie broke 2 long pieces and handed one to Toki. What the string like this? Auntie licked the end of her piece and picked up a button. Now take your button and run the end of the string through the eyes of the button. Toki slipped the string through one eye and back through the other. Then she knotted the end, just like Auntie. Now take it like this, Auntie instructed. Toki looped the string over a finger on each hand. She twiddled the string with the button in the middle until the string got all twisted and bunched together. Then she pulled like Auntie Edna did. The button whirled and whined in a blur of color. The string stretched like rubber. "This is great," Toki laughed. "Who taught you how to make these? What are they called?" "Oh, we made these and lots of other playthings coming up. Some folks called this a zuzu. Suppose others called it something else. No matter. Had ourselves a pretty good time, just the same." By now the house smelled vanilla sweet, and Auntie put the tea cakes on the windowsill. "What other kinds of things did you do when you were growing up?" "Well, now, when I was no bigger than a bunch on a log just like you," Auntie laughed, "all the women folk used brown paper to put curls in their hair." "Brown paper?" Toki frowned. "Might seem odd, but it worked." Auntie took a paper bag, tore a long, wide strip, and twisted it tight. Then she wrapped some of her hair around it and tied the paper with the end sticking up. "Do mine," Toki pleaded. Auntie Edna put the paper bag rollers all over Toki's head, and Toki put paper bag rollers all over Auntie Edna's head. Toki laughed. Sure, she didn't look half as funny as Auntie Edna did, like someone, the way Auntie put it, dressed up like a porcupine. "What's bringing on the giggles?" Toki laughed some more. "You!" "Oh, is that so?" Auntie chuckled and reached for a mirror so Toki could have a look at herself. "The aliens done landed." Reba came in the back door. "Do I look really weird?" Toki covered her face. "Worse," teased Reba. "You're back pretty early," Auntie observed. "Anything wrong?" Reba looked at the floor and then back at Auntie. "Geraldine and I don't think the same. I decided to come back and do something with Toki." "Good," Toki said. "Then we can make you look like us. Give you a head full of paper bag rollers, too." Later, when the shadows had grown deep, Toki, Reba, and Auntie Edna sat on the front porch, hair in paper bag rollers, looking like porcupines and eating tea cakes. They watched specks of lights flicker across the yard. Lightning bugs, Auntie Edna called them. Said when she was coming up, they used to catch them and put them in jars. Carried those jars around, just like lanterns. Toki wondered what they'd do tomorrow. Old-fashioned stuff wasn't too bad after all. Neither was Auntie Edna. All right, so that's the end of the story. What did you guys think about it? And do you think being old-fashioned is bad? Why or why not?